chosen one. Listen carefully. Something in the atmosphere has shifted around you. And this moment is not random. Heaven has been watching your endurance, recording every tear and every breath you took when no one else understood the weight you carried. The divine test you've been walking through has reached its end. You didn't crumble. You didn't walk away. You stood your ground, even when silence felt like abandonment. And now the voice of God echoes through your spirit. You have passed the test. Every sleepless night, every season of confusion, every unanswered prayer, it all served a higher purpose. God was not punishing you, He was proving you. You were refined in the fire, so that no impurity could enter your next season. Every disappointment stripped away what could not survive. Where you're going, you may not have realized it then, but heaven was rooting for you, even when you felt forgotten. You see, the testing season was not about what you could do for God, but about what God was building in you. He was crafting endurance, humility, and obedience. He was preparing a heart that could carry glory without pride. You have become a vessel that can be trusted, and because of that, the heavens have issued their verdict. You are ready for the next assignment. The Word of God speaks with clarity and comfort. As written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 8, "The Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." That is your confirmation. God is not behind you wondering how you'll survive. He's ahead of you preparing victory. He is not sending you into this next chapter alone. He's walking beside you, whispering strength into your spirit. The fear that tried to keep you paralyzed has lost its power, because divine companionship has taken over. You were never abandoned. In the silence, He was strategizing. In the waiting, He was arranging. You thought nothing was happening, but heaven was shifting the ground beneath your feet. The test wasn't designed to break you, it was designed to reveal your true foundation. And now that you've proven faithful, you stand unshakable. You can sense it in your spirit. The heaviness is lifting, and peace is taking its place. What used to drain you will no longer have access to you. The same battles that once terrified, you will now bow before the authority you carry. Because when you pass God's test, you don't just graduate, you transform. This moment marks the divine turning point. The chapter of testing closes here. You are not who you were before this wilderness began. You have gained wisdom that only pain could teach, faith that only silence could form, and strength that only struggle could release. Heaven has promoted you, and even if no one else notices yet, all of creation recognizes the shift. Your life now becomes a testimony that endurance pays off. Others will look at you and see proof that God's promises never fail. The scars you carry are no longer marks of suffering, they are seals of victory. Every tear was counted. Every prayer was heard. Every moment you kept going when it made no sense was a line in your story of divine triumph. Now, as you step forward, you will see the evidence of God's presence in ways you never imagined. Opportunities that once seemed impossible will appear effortlessly. People sent by God will recognize you, not because of your title or position, but because of the presence that surrounds you. If this word resonates deep within your spirit, don't let it stay unspoken. Speak faith into motion. Comment 777 below as your prophetic declaration that the test is finished, that you accept God's presence over your life, and that you are ready for the season of fulfillment. Then, as a final act of obedience, like, share, and subscribe, because your act of faith might be the lifeline someone else needs. Let the light that restored you shine through you. This isn't just a message, it's a movement of divine confirmation. You passed the test. God is with you now. Now, lift your eyes and breathe again. The storm that once surrounded you has cleared, and the same winds that tested you will now carry you into purpose. Heaven celebrates your endurance. Angels move at God's command, preparing new paths and divine appointments that align with your restored strength and unshakable faith. Step boldly, for grace goes before you. Every step you take from here is guided, covered, and confirmed evidence that God Himself walks with you forevermore. You carried more than most could ever understand. Every battle you fought in silence became a sacred dialogue between your soul and heaven. The nights that left you trembling on the edge of surrender were never wasted. They were recorded in eternity as moments of faith. You thought you were being overlooked, but you were being observed by the only eyes that matter. God saw you, choosing love over bitterness, prayer over pride, and perseverance over escape. There were days you felt invisible. You walked among people who could not see the depth of your struggle, and yet you kept showing up. You smiled through the ache, spoke kindness through the exhaustion, and gave, even when your hands were shaking. That is what set you apart. The strength you carried was not loud, it was sacred, forged in silence. Every hidden tear watered the ground of your future. You did not realize it then, but those tears were intercession. You were standing in the gap for generations to come. The weight you carried was never just your own. It was part of a divine assignment. Heaven trusted you with it because God knew you could withstand what would have crushed another. That's why you were chosen. You see, every chosen one carries a hidden weight. It's not punishment, it's partnership. God allows certain souls to walk through the valley so that when they rise, others will know the valley has an exit. That's why your story matters. It's not just survival. It's revelation. You are living proof that darkness does not win. There were moments when you questioned if God had forgotten your name. You prayed and nothing moved. You hoped and nothing changed. You watched others succeed while you stood still, and the silence began to sting. But silence is not absence. In those unseen hours, heaven was shaping endurance within you, layer upon layer of unseen strength. The Spirit of God has always been near, even in the heaviness. He saw the tears you never spoke of, the moments when your hands trembled, but you chose to pray anyway. He saw how you kept forgiving the ones who broke you, how you resisted the urge to retaliate, how you stayed soft when bitterness tried to harden your heart. That softness was not weakness, it was strength that confused the enemy. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 3, verse 19, "The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to tread on the heights." You didn't know it then, but the weight you carried was the evidence of divine favor. God only disciplines those He intends to elevate. You were being trained to carry responsibility that others could not bear. Every lesson you learned in the dark will soon serve others in the light. Look back now, not with pain, but with understanding. The weight you carried was not meant to destroy you, it was meant to define you. It shaped your discernment, sharpened your compassion, and deepened your sensitivity to the voice of the Spirit. Without that season, you wouldn't have the wisdom you now carry. When you cried out and heaven seemed silent, the silence was the answer. God was saying, I trust you to walk even when you can't hear me. That trust is the highest honor. It means heaven believed in your endurance more than you believed in yourself. And now, you've proven that belief right. The same people who once misunderstood your struggle will one day marvel at your strength. They will see your peace and call it luck, not realizing it was forged through warfare. But you will know. You will remember the nights of surrender, the whispered prayers, the moments you almost gave up, but didn't. That memory will keep you humble. You are lighter now because you have learned to carry weight with grace. You no longer seek validation from others because you've already been validated by heaven. The test purified your motives, clarified your vision, and anchored your faith. You no longer need to prove your worth. You simply walk in it. And in this quiet afterglow of victory, you begin to realize that the wait was actually a blessing. It taught you to rely completely on God. It revealed who truly stood with you and who couldn't handle the calling on your life. It stripped away false support so that only divine connections remain. So breathe deeply. The season of heavy burdens has fulfilled its purpose. What once felt like chains are now the very tools that forged your strength. You were never carrying punishment, you were carrying promise. And now, that promise begins to unfold. You have walked through fire, and yet you stand refined, not ruined. What once felt like destruction was in fact the divine refiner's fire shaping you for glory. You have learned what few ever grasp. Pain is the language of transformation. God did not abandon you in the furnace. He sat beside you in it. You were being purified, not punished, in the stillness between your tears. Heaven was melting away every impurity that couldn't follow you into your new season. The lies, the fears, the attachments that disguised themselves as comfort, all of them had to burn. The flames were never your enemy. They were your passage into strength. As gold is tested by heat, so is the chosen tested by fire. Every degree of intensity had purpose. God knew that if He let the flames touch you, they would also reveal what cannot be destroyed. That is why you still stand, not as a victim, but as evidence. You carry the glow of those who have seen the fire and found God waiting within it. The ancient words recorded in the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9, remind us, I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, they are my people. And they will say, the Lord is our God. End quote. Chosen one. This is what the fire accomplished. It burned away imitation, faith, and left behind purity. You no longer serve God because He makes life easy. You serve Him because you have seen that He is faithful in the flames. Your worship is deeper now, not because you sing louder, but because your scars now echo His glory. You thought you were losing yourself in the storm, but you were actually discovering your divine core. Each layer that fell away revealed the essence of who you are: faith refined, humility awakened, strength reborn. The fire did not change your calling, it clarified it. And now, as the embers cool, you will begin to recognize the purpose behind every burn. You will see how the heat aligned your heart with heaven's rhythm. The same fire that once terrified you has now become your proof of divine intimacy. For God does not refine what He intends to reject, He refines what He intends to reveal. Do you see it now? The very seasons that tried to silence you have become the foundation of your authority. You can now speak to others who are still in their fire, not with sympathy, but with revelation. You can look them in the eye and say, I know what it's like, but you will make it. Because you did. The flames did not take your faith, they proved it. The loss did not end your story, it introduced your destiny. What you called broken, heaven called rebuilt. What you thought was ending was actually refining. That's why this word comes to you today, not as comfort alone, but as recognition. Heaven wants you to know that you have passed through the furnace of transformation. You came out with a light that darkness cannot dim. Every burn mark on your soul has become holy ink. Writing the next chapter of your testimony, the refiner's fire has done its work. And now heaven whispers, it's time. Time to step forward without fear of what was lost. Time to trust that every purification was preparation. Time to know that God's presence is not fragile, it's fireproof. And right here, as this truth settles in your spirit, declare it openly. Comment, I'm refined. And write it not as a phrase, but as a proclamation. Let the world and the heavens know that you understand what your pain produced. It is more than words, it is identity. When you type those two words, you're not just agreeing with a message, you're aligning with your transformation. Let that declaration seal your journey through the fire. You are refined, proven, strengthened, chosen. The flames bowed to your endurance. The test could not destroy the gold in you, it only revealed its brilliance. And from this moment forward, you walk not with the smell of smoke, but with the fragrance of victory. Now look at your reflection. What you see is not who you were, but who you became. Fire didn't steal your beauty. It unveiled the divine design hidden beneath the ashes. Every scar glows with purpose now. Heaven has turned your pain into prophecy, your struggle into strength. You carry the fragrance of endurance that testifies of God's faithfulness. Comment, I'm refined. When you write it, you're declaring that the flames failed to consume you. You're proclaiming to heaven and earth alike, I survived. I'm stronger, and I still shine. You remember the silence, the long stretch of days when God felt distant, when prayers returned like echoes, unanswered. You thought perhaps heaven had turned away, that your faith had vanished into the emptiness. Yet in truth, those were the most sacred days of all. Silence is not the absence of God, it is the space where He teaches trust. When heaven went quiet, you were being invited into maturity. The absence you felt was not rejection, it was training. A teacher does not speak during the test. And God was measuring your faith not by what you heard, but by how you stood when you heard nothing at all. That silence separated the seekers from the spectators, the devoted from the dependent. You learned that faith that only sings in comfort is not faith at all. There were moments you wanted to quit, when you sat in the stillness and wondered if your prayers were hitting the ceiling. Yet even in those shadows, grace was near. The Spirit whispered through the still air, shaping your patience, tempering your heart, teaching you that divine timing cannot be rushed. You discovered that silence is a language of heaven, and only those who stay still long enough begin to understand it. In those hidden hours, the Lord was closer than you imagined. You could not see Him, but He was there standing between you and the collapse you feared. His silence guarded you from noise that would have distracted you from destiny. You wanted an answer, He wanted transformation. It is written in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 12. And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. Oh, that whisper still lives in your spirit. It taught you that the presence of God doesn't always arrive in thunder or miracles. Sometimes it comes softly, asking if you still trust when nothing moves. It was in that quiet that you learned the weight of peace, the strength of waiting, the beauty of surrender. Silence stripped you of performance. It reminded you that you were never meant to impress God with words, but to rest in His presence. You began to pray differently, less about outcomes, more about alignment. Instead of asking, "When will you speak?" you started saying, "Teach me to listen." That shift changed everything. Through those unspoken seasons, your roots grew deeper. What looked like stillness from the surface was expansion underneath. You were being grounded so that when storms returned, your faith would not bend. That's what silence does. It forces your soul to remember what your mind forgets, that God's promises do not depend on your emotions. Many gave up during their quiet seasons. Believing the hush meant abandonment, but you stayed. That single decision separated you. Heaven marks those who remain when sound fades. It's easy to praise when the room is loud with answered prayers. But it's holy to praise when all you hear is your own heartbeat. You now understand that God's silence carries purpose. It empties your heart of distractions and reintroduces you to dependence. The quiet you once hated became the very ground where revelation was born. You learned that God's greatest gifts are sometimes wrapped in stillness. When He finally spoke again, the words were different. They carried weight because they were heard by a soul that had been quieted. Silence had prepared your ears for detail, your spirit for direction. You no longer needed confirmation from the world because you had learned to discern the whisper of God. Looking back, you realized that the quiet seasons were not barren, they were sacred incubations. What looked like waiting was actually growing. You were being rewired from within, learning to walk by faith rather than sight. You were being equipped for a level of purpose that demanded sensitivity over speed. Now, you carry peace into every environment because you've met God in the silence. The chaos around you no longer shakes you. You've been trained to hear the whisper beneath the storm. And when others panic, you'll remember what you learned, that sometimes the loudest proof of God's presence is the quiet confidence in your chest. Do not despise the seasons when heaven seems still. They are the proof that God trusts you enough to walk without signs. He hides not to punish, but to purify perception. He speaks in silence, so you'll remember that His voice is not limited to words. You passed through that sacred stillness and came out anchored. You no longer chase noise, you listen for the whisper, because now you know the whisper means He's near. Even when the world says He's not. Just before every sunrise, the sky is darkest. That was your season. You faced attacks that seemed designed to finish you. The enemy threw everything at you: confusion, exhaustion, betrayal, but none of it worked. You may have bent, but you did not break. You may have wept, but you did not quit. That is how heaven knew. The test was ending. The enemy's last attack always comes just before the dawn. It is his desperate attempt to convince you that the promise was a lie. He knows that once you see the light, you will never again be afraid of the night. That's why the pressure grew stronger. It wasn't proof that you were losing. It was proof that you were close to breakthrough. You must understand this truth. When the enemy increases the heat, heaven is announcing promotion. Every false accusation, every closed door, every disappointment was secretly a confirmation that you were about to rise. What looked like chaos was actually God rearranging the battlefield so you could stand victorious. When you felt surrounded, you were actually being protected. What looked like isolation was divine insulation, God keeping you hidden until your strength was complete. The enemy wanted to exhaust you, but God was training you. The battlefield you walk through has now become your platform of testimony. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 27, verse 3, "Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident." That verse mirrors your life. The battle was real, but fear lost its grip. You stood firm, not because you felt strong, but because grace held you up when your strength was gone. You didn't fight alone. Every tear, every sigh, every whispered prayer became a weapon in heaven's hands. And when you least expected it, the tide turned. The attacks began to fade. Not because the enemy surrendered, but because his weapons no longer worked on you. You had changed. You learned to fight from peace instead of panic, from faith instead of fear. You learned that sometimes victory doesn't come from swinging harder. It comes from standing still and trusting longer. Now, as the dust settles, you realize the truth. The enemy didn't target you because you were weak. He targeted you because you are dangerous to darkness. He saw the potential before you did. That's why the battle felt personal, because it was. Yet every blow he sent only pushed you deeper into God's presence. What he meant for harm became your training ground. And now, it's time to breathe again. You are no longer standing in a war zone. You are walking on holy ground. The same ground that once echoed with conflict now hums with peace. You carry new authority, the kind that only comes from surviving what should have ended you. This is the moment where gratitude becomes your weapon. Look at what God has done, how he turned pain into power and fear into faith. That's why your next response matters. When heaven blesses, the chosen respond with thanksgiving. If this message has spoken life into you, let your light ripple forward. Tap like as if lighting a candle in the dark. One small flame that tells heaven you're still burning. Share this word as though you were passing a torch across the ocean, trusting that somewhere a soul in the night will see that glow and remember hope. Subscribe if you wish to walk beside this stream of living words, like joining a caravan of travelers who drink from the same well of truth. Stay connected. Stay nourished. And if your heart feels stirred to give, listen closely. This is not demand, but invitation. Think of your donation as a seed planted in fertile soil, or a drop of oil poured into the lamp that keeps the fire alive for others still wandering in the dark. There is no condition, no pressure, no transaction, only participation in something eternal. Every seed given, whether through offering, prayer, or kindness, becomes light for another traveler's path. And if you cannot give now, your listening is already a gift, your presence already a prayer. The Spirit measures not the size of your offering, but the sincerity of your heart. This is what the enemy never understood. Generosity and love are weapons more powerful than any attack. Where darkness divides, giving unites. Where fear tightens its grip, love opens its hands. That is how light wins. So walk in that truth. Keep your flame steady, your heart open, and your gratitude alive. The battle tried to break you, but it built you instead. Now you are not only standing, you are shining. Proof that God's chosen ones never fall without rising higher. The heavens have reached their verdict. Your waiting has not been in vain. Every unseen sacrifice, every moment you kept faith while no one was watching, has been weighed on divine scales. The court of heaven has spoken. You are vindicated. Grace now stands in your defense, declaring you victorious. This is what few ever see: how heaven operates in silence. How mercy builds a case on your behalf while you think nothing is happening. The delays you experienced were not denials, they were divine investigations. God was examining your heart, your motive, your resilience. And now, the judgment has been rendered. You passed. Every false accusation is now overturned. Every injustice that pierced your heart becomes a stepping stone into destiny. Heaven has not forgotten a single word spoken against you. It simply waited for the perfect moment to reveal the truth. What others meant for harm has been rewritten as testimony. The ancient words recorded in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 7. Declare, instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance. And so, you will inherit a double portion in your land, and everlasting joy will be yours. No, this is your divine decree. You are stepping into the double peace, double clarity, double favor. You are not returning to what was lost. You are being ushered into what was promised. The very places where you were humiliated will now become your stage of honor. Heaven has shifted the atmosphere around you. Angels have been released to enforce what was written in your favor. That's why you feel the air changing, why things that once resisted you now open easily. The verdict has been sealed, and your name has been cleared in the spiritual realm. The people who doubted your endurance will see the outcome and realize that the hand of God has always been upon you. You don't need to justify yourself anymore. Favor will speak louder than defense. Your reputation is being restored, not by words, but by results. You see, there's a difference between being approved by people and being approved by heaven. Earthly approval fades, divine approval sustains. And today, heaven's approval rests on you like a crown of light. You are not just forgiven, you are chosen, trusted, and celebrated. This season, you will notice divine acceleration. What took years before will now unfold quickly. God redeems time for those who endured in silence. Every delay becomes repayment. Every tear becomes evidence that faith was worth it. You will no longer chase what belongs to you. It will begin to chase you. And when the blessings arrive, remember, they are not rewards for perfection, but recognition of perseverance. Heaven does not celebrate flawless people. It celebrates faithful ones. You remained faithful when comfort disappeared, when understanding vanished, when you had every reason to give up. That's why you are being honored now. But with elevation comes responsibility. God did not vindicate you for applause, He did it for assignment. The double portion is not just a prize, it's fuel for your purpose. What you receive now must flow outward, turning your healing into help for others, your breakthrough into someone else's hope. So as this word reaches your spirit, let it settle deep. The case is closed. You are free to move forward without fear of the past repeating itself. The same grace that vindicated you will protect your new beginning. And, right here, to seal this word as an act of agreement, comment Matim Asrim Vishtaim below. The number 222 represents divine alignment, heavenly balance, and the fulfillment of promises made long ago. When you type it, you're not just typing digits, you are declaring, "My life is now in divine order." It is a prophetic symbol that heaven's decisions and your obedience are finally walking in sync. It means that what was scattered will now come together, that timing, favor, and purpose will align like stars forming a perfect constellation over your destiny. This is more than a number, it's your confirmation. 222 is the rhythm of restoration, the sound of heaven echoing through your circumstances, saying, "Peace, be still, it's settled." Oh, when the silence is over, the battle is settled, and the scrolls have been unsealed. Walk with your head high. The verdict is final, and the judge who spoke over your life will not change his word. You are restored. You are redeemed. You are approved. Heaven calls your name, and earth will soon echo it. Now step forward in quiet confidence. The storm has testified. The heavens have ruled. What once felt uncertain is now established. Your story carries the seal of divine completion and unstoppable grace. You are not who you were. Something invisible yet undeniable has shifted inside you. Heaven has placed a new mantle on your shoulders, a covering of authority, wisdom, and divine confidence. You can feel it in the stillness, that quiet awareness that you now walk differently. The timid version of you has faded, replaced by a warrior who knows what it means to endure and to overcome. This new mantle isn't loud or glittering, it is weighty, sacred. It carries peace as its fragrance and strength as its lining. It is the kind of anointing that doesn't need to announce itself, because it speaks through presence. When you enter a room, the atmosphere changes. When you speak, hearts listen differently. This is what happens when heaven clothes someone with purpose. They no longer need validation. They become validation. The process you endured was never to impress anyone. It was to prepare you. Before, you carried potential. Now, you carry proof. You know the voice of God, not because someone told you about it, but because you learned to hear it in silence, in struggle, and in surrender. That familiarity makes you unstoppable. The mantle resting upon you now is not borrowed. It is earned through obedience. You walked through fire without losing faith. You faced rejection without losing compassion. You survived delay without losing direction. Heaven doesn't entrust such power lightly. It gives it to those who have proven that they can handle both the spotlight and the shadow. You will notice that your words carry new weight. What you speak in faith will begin to manifest faster. Doors will open, not because of charm, but because of calling. People will sense something about you they can't explain, and it will draw them closer not to you, but to the God within you. That's what the mantle does. It makes you a mirror, reflecting heaven's authority on earth. The prophet Elijah once cast his mantle upon Elisha, and everything changed in that instant. The gesture was simple, but its meaning was eternal. It symbolized the transfer of responsibility and spiritual authority. In the same way, God has placed something upon you that cannot be seen, but cannot be denied. It is your turn to carry what others have dropped, to continue the work. Heaven started long before you arrived, and because this mantle is holy, it comes with balance. It will not only elevate you, it will humble you. The closer you walk with God, the more aware you become of His mercy. You'll realize that this power isn't for personal gain, it's for kingdom impact. It's to heal, to restore, to build, to speak life where death has settled. You may feel the weight of it at times, like a cloak too heavy for your shoulders, but that's the sign that it fits perfectly. It was designed to remind you that strength is borrowed from heaven, not manufactured by willpower. You will not carry it alone. The same God who placed it on you sustains you under it. Expect new assignments to appear. You will sense divine nudges, small impressions in your spirit, guiding you toward people or places you never considered before. Don't resist them. The mantle doesn't move by logic, it moves by obedience. Each step you take in faith activates another layer of what God has placed within you. And though the world might never understand the quiet power you carry, creation itself recognizes you. The spiritual realm responds differently. Now angels move at your declaration. Darkness withdraws at your arrival. You don't fight for territory anymore, you establish it. That's what happens when a mantle meets maturity. You have become a vessel of divine presence, a carrier of peace, a living sign that endurance is never wasted. Let this truth rest gently upon your spirit. God didn't just rescue you, He redefined you. You are now walking evidence that favor follows the faithful. You carry the mantle of one who has been refined, approved, and commissioned. And though you may not yet see the full picture, heaven already celebrates what you have become, a trusted steward of light in a darkened world. You will begin to notice it in small ways, how peace follows you into crowded rooms, how conversations shift when you speak truth with love. The mantle carries quiet influence. Do not rush to explain it. Divine things rarely fit human language. Simply live in a way that lets others feel heaven before you ever mention His name. This new authority is not a crown to display, but a fire to tend. Guard it with humility. Feed it with prayer. And let compassion keep it burning bright through every season ahead. The season of silence has ended, and with it, the cloak of invisibility that once surrounded you. You have spent years hidden unseen, misunderstood, sometimes forgotten by those who promised to remember you. But heaven never forgot. God was not ignoring you. He was incubating you. What looked like obscurity was divine strategy. He was protecting your preparation, keeping your name safe until the right moment. There is a time when being unseen is mercy. Had God revealed you too early, the weight of recognition would have crushed what your character could not yet sustain. Hiddenness was not punishment, it was construction. In that quiet, He was shaping your integrity, deepening your wisdom, and sharpening your voice. He allowed the world to overlook you so He could perfect what others could not see. Now that the veil is lifting, you realize that nothing was wasted. Every prayer whispered in the shadows became oil for your next season. Every act of kindness that no one applauded became a seed that heaven now waters with favor. The same hands that once trembled in waiting are now being anointed for purpose. When heaven decides to reveal someone, no force on earth can keep them concealed. You are entering that moment. Your name is beginning to surface in rooms where you've never set foot. People will speak of you, not because you demanded attention, but because obedience has created echoes that travel farther than visibility ever could. It is written in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." Oh, that is the truth now unfolding over you. The same light that was forged in secrecy is about to shine publicly. And unlike the artificial glow of human ambition, your light is pure. It does not flicker with applause or approval. It shines because it was born from faithfulness in obscurity. You have stepped from hidden to heralded. But remember this: recognition is not the goal. Revelation is. The purpose of being seen is not to gather praise, but to deliver a message. When people look at your life, they must see the fingerprints of God. You are not being promoted for image, you are being positioned for impact. The world may label this your breakthrough, but heaven calls it release. The waiting season has expired, and everything that was incubating inside you is now ready to live. You will begin to speak words that pierce hearts, not because of eloquence, but because they carry evidence. Your presence itself will feel like confirmation to those who doubt God still moves. Don't be surprised when doors open without you knocking. They are not rewards, they are assignments. Every new opportunity carries responsibility. The light you carry will draw many, but it will also expose shadows. Stay humble. The same humility that sustained you in obscurity will protect you in influence. You will notice how timing feels effortless now. Before, everything was resistance and waiting. Now, divine alignment is your rhythm. The right people will find you without striving. The right moments will unfold without pressure. That's how heaven moves. When you are fully aligned, grace replaces grind. You may still feel small, unsure if you're ready for visibility. But readiness is not measured by confidence, it's measured by surrender. God did not call you because you were qualified. He qualified you through the calling. The same grace that kept you hidden will now carry you forward into every new room, every conversation, every opportunity. Your task now is simple: shine naturally. You don't have to force light. It happens when you stay connected to its source. Keep walking in truth, and the glow of your obedience will illuminate others who are still walking through the dark you once knew so well. Your time of being unseen is over, but your posture must remain the same: quiet faith, steady love, pure intention. Visibility is not an award, it's stewardship. The world doesn't need another loud voice. It needs a living example of grace under pressure, peace under scrutiny, light under weight. You are that example now. Heaven has unveiled you, not to celebrate the end of hiding, but to reveal the beginning of shining. And this time, the light will not fade, because it was never built on attention, it was forged in devotion. So, walk gently into the open, knowing that the same God who hid you is the one now revealing you. Every step you take is timed by heaven's rhythm. Let humility remain your armor. Shine, not to be seen, but to help others see the light was never meant to end with you. There comes a moment when chains that have lingered for years finally lose their hold. That moment is now. You may not have heard the sound, but something in the unseen has broken. What once bound your heart, your hope, or your family no longer has permission to remain. The same power that raised Christ from the grave is working in you, quietly but decisively, snapping spiritual locks that have held generations captive. You've felt it before, those invisible cords of fear, rejection, or shame that kept pulling you backward just when you were ready to rise. They made you doubt your worth, question your progress, and accept limits that were never meant for you. But the Spirit of God says today, it ends here. The patterns that haunted your lineage, the cycles that stole your peace, have met the end of their authority. As the prophet Isaiah wrote in chapter 10, verse 27, in that day their burden will be lifted from your shoulders, their yoke from your neck. The yoke will be broken because you have grown so fat. That word grown is the key. The anointing has expanded within you, and the chains can no longer contain it. You didn't just escape bondage, you outgrew it. What used to control you now cracks under the weight of your maturity. You are not fighting the same battles anymore. You are walking in a higher realm of strength. Every chain that once whispered, "You'll never change," now trembles at the sound of your faith. Every curse that ran through your family line stops with you. Heaven has drawn a boundary line around your destiny, declaring, "No further." The territory of your soul has been reclaimed by grace. You are stepping into the inheritance of freedom. The heaviness that once followed you like a shadow has lifted, replaced by the steady glow of peace. The wounds that once dictated your reactions are healing, and your heart beats in rhythm with purpose again. Freedom doesn't always roar, it often begins as a quiet exhale. The first breath after years underwater. You can feel the lightness already, can't you? That's not imagination, it's release. God is untying what the enemy knotted, restoring what was strangled by fear. Even memories that used to sting now lose their edge, because heaven has rewritten your past into testimony. What was pain has become prophecy. What was bondage has become wisdom. This moment is sacred. It's not just deliverance, it's declaration. You're not simply freed from something, you're freed for something. God breaks chains, not just to end suffering, but to awaken destiny. You were never meant to live bound. You were meant to lead others into liberty. So lift your head and breathe. Feel the atmosphere shifting around you. Chains have no place where the Spirit of the Lord dwells, and He dwells in you. This is not temporary relief, it's permanent release. Let your spirit respond to this truth now. Comment, "I'm free." Write it as a witness, not a wish. When you type it, you're testifying to heaven and to yourself that you no longer live under the weight of what once controlled you. Those two words aren't for attention, they're for alignment. They echo through the unseen, announcing that grace has rewritten your name, your bloodline, your identity. Freedom is not fragile, it's fierce. It doesn't ask permission. It walks through gates once locked. It changes how you pray, how you speak, how you see yourself. You no longer move from pain, you move from power. You no longer react from fear, you respond from peace. The chains didn't just fall off, they dissolved, leaving no trace of their existence. Walk lightly now. You are proof that deliverance is real, that the name of Jesus still breaks what human effort cannot. Your freedom is not only for you, it's an open door for others to follow. Every step you take forward teaches someone else how to be free. So, pause for a moment. Feel what freedom truly means. It's not noise or excitement, it's steady peace. It's knowing you no longer need to fight for breath. Grace breathes for you. Let the world see it in your calmness, in the way you forgive, in the way you love without fear. That's how freedom testifies. It doesn't need to shout. It simply shines. Comment, "I'm free." Those two words are your banner in the spirit. When you declare them, you're planting a flag in new territory, claiming it not for pride, but for peace. You're saying, "This heart belongs to God now, nothing else holds me." You have come to a sacred moment, the crown moment. Heaven recognizes not only what you survived, but who you became through it. The angels who watched you stumble through storms now stand in reverence as you rise, radiant and whole. This is not the reward of luck, it is the coronation of endurance. The crown is not made of gold, but of grace woven from every prayer, every tear, every act of quiet faith that refused to die. You might not see it with your physical eyes, but heaven sees the light circling your head. It's not arrogance, it's evidence. God places crowns not on perfect people, but on those who keep walking when perfection seems impossible. You are crowned, not for victory alone, but for the courage to believe in the middle of battle. Your crown is made of stories. The late nights when you chose prayer over despair. The mornings you rose, even when your heart felt heavy. Every time you forgave, another jewel was added. Every time you surrendered, another beam of light took shape. Now the crown gleams with the brilliance of resilience. The Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing." That is the truth over your life. The crown you carry is not a symbol of arrival, but of alignment. It represents every lesson learned, every fear overcome, every act of faith that sculpted your spirit. As you stand crowned, heaven whispers, "Now let your light be seen," not for your glory, but for God's. Every word you speak, every act of kindness, every step forward is part of the divine ripple that touches the world. This is the season to let your story breathe, to let others see that brokenness can bloom into beauty. You don't have to shout about your crown. It shines quietly. It glows in how you speak peace when others stir chaos, how you give even when you've lost much, how you love without expectation. That's what royalty in the kingdom of God looks like, humility wrapped in strength. And because this message flows from that same light, let gratitude follow where glory rests. If these words have stirred something deep within you, let your gratitude speak. Tap like as though laying a flower at the feet of grace, simple, sincere, and real. Share this message if your heart feels led, not to promote, but to plant. Think of it as scattering seeds in soil you'll never see, trusting that somewhere, someone desperate for hope will find a bloom because you decided to share light. Subscribe if your spirit desires to walk this journey continually. Imagine it like returning to a garden where your soul once rested. Each new message is another drop of dew upon the roots of your faith. Staying connected is not about following a page, it's about nurturing a rhythm that keeps you close to peace. And for those whose hearts are moved to sow into this flow of grace, your giving is not a transaction, it's a translation of gratitude. Think of it as pouring oil into a lamp that keeps burning for others still walking through darkness. Your contribution, no matter the size, becomes light soft, steady, and far-reaching. If you give, let it be because you want to, not because you feel compelled. Let your donation be a whisper to heaven, saying, "Thank you for what you've done in me. Let this blessing continue to others." The purest offerings are never forced. They're love made visible. Even if giving is not possible right now, your presence here already matters. You are part of this tapestry of faith, and your listening heart helps the message breathe. Every amen, every quiet nod, every moment of reflection adds to the light that reaches beyond this space. Remember, every form of gratitude multiplies. A single act of kindness, a gentle share, a simple prayer, each becomes a spark that helps keep this fire alive. When you move from receiving to releasing, you step into the rhythm of heaven, where giving and grace dance as one. So wear your invisible crown with gentleness. It's not for display, but for purpose. Use it to lift others, to remind them that survival can look like majesty, that scars can shine brighter than gold. You are the living proof that God crowns the broken with beauty and the weary with wonder. And as you leave this moment, may your heart whisper its quiet, "Thank you." That gratitude, whether shown in a gesture, a prayer, or a gift, is what keeps heaven's light alive in the world. Because the crown you carry is not just for you, it's for every soul. Still learning that brokenness is not the end of the story. You are not alone. You never were. Even in the seasons where silence stretched across your prayers and the world seemed deaf to your cries, God was orchestrating companionship in ways you couldn't see. Heaven never intended for you to walk alone. Solitude was for shaping, but now, support is for sustaining. Help is on its way, and not in the way you expect. Divine connections are already moving toward you, souls hand-picked by God to align with your purpose. They won't compete with your light, they will complement it. They won't drain you, they will strengthen you. These are covenant people, not convenience people. They are drawn not to your appearance or success, but to the spirit of endurance that now radiates from within you. There is a holy rhythm to relationships in divine timing. Before, you might have begged certain people to stay. You held on to connections that drained you because you feared the emptiness their absence would bring. But now, you've learned that letting go is not loss, it's alignment. God had to clear the space so that those meant for your next season could find room to stand beside you. When divine relationships arrive, they feel different. There's no striving, no guessing, no emotional tug-of-war. Peace becomes the proof. These connections are not built through manipulation or convenience, but through recognition spirit, recognizing spirit. You'll speak the same spiritual language without rehearsing it. You'll feel seen without having to explain yourself. The Word of God reminds us in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verse 9, "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor." That truth is eternal. The walk of the chosen was never meant to be solitary forever. God will surround you with those who carry what you lack and need what you carry. Together, you'll form a circle of strength where each person reflects a different facet of His glory. These helpers will not arrive with fanfare. They will appear naturally, like sunlight slipping through clouds. Some will come as mentors, others as partners, and some as quiet friends who simply hold space for you to rest. Don't rush to label them. Just listen. God knows who must walk with you and who must watch from afar. Trust His arrangements. You'll also begin to notice divine alignments in unexpected places. Strangers will speak words that confirm what you prayed in secret. Encounters will feel orchestrated, almost too precise to be coincidence. That's the fingerprint of heaven. Every connection, every moment of kindness, every conversation that lifts your spirit, it's God weaving community around you like a protective cloak. But with new relationships comes new discernment. Not everyone who admires your light is meant to walk beside it. The same discernment that guarded you in isolation will now guide you in connection. Listen for peace, not promises. Real covenant souls don't flatter, they fortify. They push you toward purpose, not popularity. You may also find reconciliation waiting in unexpected corners. Some who once misunderstood you will return with softened hearts. Time has done its work. God has humbled and healed them. Receive them with wisdom and grace. Forgiveness doesn't always mean restoration, but sometimes it opens the door to it. And as your circle shifts, remember this: relationships are assignments. Each one is a mirror that shows something of God's nature: patience, compassion, endurance, love. When you see them that way, you stop clinging out of fear and start connecting from purpose. In this season, your helpers are not arriving to rescue you, they are arriving to walk beside you. You are not weak. You are wise enough to recognize that strength multiplies when shared. You are stepping into divine partnership, where every heart beats to the same rhythm of heaven's call. You'll know them by peace, by truth, and by the joy that flows freely in their presence. They will remind you of who you are when you forget, and you will do the same for them. Together, you will build something that outlasts words, community shaped by grace, bonded by purpose, sustained by love. You are not alone. Heaven has written companionship into your story, and the ink of that promise is still wet. Soon, you will look around and see what God was preparing all along: a circle of strength, laughter, and prayer that carries the sound of divine harmony. You will no longer walk through valleys echoing with your own footsteps. The sound of prayerful voices will rise beside yours, weaving courage into your journey. Together you will move like rivers, merging different paths. Same purpose flowing toward the ocean of God's promise, carrying light for others to follow. Doors that once refused to open are now unlocking with gentle ease. What once took effort will begin to unfold naturally because divine timing has taken the lead. You have waited, prayed, and endured what felt like endless delay. But delay was never denial, it was direction. Heaven was aligning the right doors with the right moment. And now, the sound you hear in your spirit is the hinge of destiny turning. There were seasons when you knocked until your knuckles bled. You tried every key you had: talent, persistence, even sheer will, and still, nothing moved. You wondered if God had forgotten your address. But what you called closed was actually protected. God was guarding you from premature access, keeping you from walking into places that would have distorted your purpose. You see, not every open door is divine, and not every closed door is rejection. Some are divine delays disguised as disappointments. Heaven was holding certain opportunities back until your character could sustain them. Now that you have been refined, those same doors swing wide, not by force, but by favor. The ancient word, recorded in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 8, declares, "See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name." That promise was written for moments like this. The doors before you now are sealed with divine fingerprints. No human effort opened them, and no human hand can close them. You are walking not by coincidence, but by confirmation. Grace has become your key, and obedience your lockpick. Pay attention to how effortlessly things begin to flow. Where there used to be resistance, there will now be rhythm. You'll find yourself at the right place, meeting the right people, at the right time. That's the pattern of grace. It doesn't push, it pulls. It doesn't rush, it aligns. But remember, every open door carries a choice. With each new opportunity comes the responsibility to listen. Not every door that opens requires you to walk through. Some are meant only to show you how far you've come, to remind you that access is no longer the problem. Discernment is. Discernment will keep you where favor places you. Pray before every step. Ask, "Lord, is this my assignment or my distraction?" Because some doors lead to platforms, while others lead to detours. The spirit within you already knows the difference. You'll feel it, a deep peace that whispers, "This is it." And when that peace comes, step forward without fear. Don't overthink the details. Heaven has already prepared what's on the other side. Every skill, every experience, every heartbreak, it all prepared you for what's ahead. This new season will not require striving, only surrender. You'll notice divine symmetry everywhere. Things that once felt scattered will begin to connect. Ideas will click into place. Opportunities will confirm each other. The story that once looked fragmented will now read like poetry. God wastes nothing. Every pause, every pain, every prayer was part of this unfolding design. And as these new doors open, walk with humility. Don't forget the wilderness that shaped your wisdom. Remember how God sustained you when no doors opened. Gratitude will keep your vision clear. You're not walking into these new places as a beggar hoping for a chance. You're walking as an ambassador carrying light. Now, as this word settles into your spirit, take a deep breath. The doors are not just opening for you, they're opening through you. Others will find access because you first had the courage to knock, wait, and trust. And right here, as a prophetic act of agreement, comment 555. The number 555 carries a message of divine transition, grace multiplied, transformation in motion, and heaven's hand rearranging circumstances for your next chapter. When you type it, you're declaring, "I'm ready for the shift. I align with heaven's timing." It is not superstition, it's a statement of faith. You're acknowledging that what once resisted you now welcomes you. That divine order is unfolding, even where confusion once ruled. 555 means change, holy change, grace, filled movement, from waiting to walking, from promise to possession. Every click of the door, every new beginning, every alignment. This is the sound of your next season. Heaven has cleared the path. Walk through with courage, knowing that every threshold leads to testimony, every step forward echoes with favor, and every new door opens not by power, nor by might, but by spirit. You are stepping into a season of multiplication. The ground that once felt barren beneath your feet is beginning to breathe again. Seeds you forgot you planted are breaking through the soil of time. You may not have seen the growth happening, but heaven was nurturing it beneath the surface. What felt like waiting was really watering. What looked like silence was the slow, deliberate unfolding of abundance. Multiplication in the kingdom doesn't always begin with excess. It begins with surrender. You gave when you barely had enough. You kept showing love when your heart was tired. You served without applause, forgave without validation, believed without evidence. Those sacrifices didn't disappear, they became invisible roots. Now, the fruit is coming. The same fields that once reflected your tears will soon echo your laughter. The book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, reminds us, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And you did not give up. And because of that, heaven has authorized your harvest. Multiplication will appear not as sudden luck, but as quiet restoration. Things that were taken from you will return in unexpected forms. The love you gave away freely will come back multiplied through new connections. Finances that once trickled will begin to flow steadily, not through striving, but through grace. The principle of divine multiplication is never about numbers, it's about capacity. God doesn't just give you more things, He expands who you are so that you can hold more blessing without breaking. This season will stretch your faith, not to test it, but to prepare it. You prayed for overflow, and overflow demands a larger vessel. Look closely, and you'll begin to recognize the pattern. People who once dismissed you will see the results of your endurance. Opportunities will begin to cluster around your obedience. What used to take years will now happen in months, and what once required effort will now unfold naturally. This is the rhythm of grace, effortless expansion, guided by divine wisdom. But remember, true multiplication carries a sacred responsibility. You are not blessed to boast, you are blessed to build. God is trusting you to use the increase wisely, to create, nurture, to restore, to bless others as freely as He blessed you. Every harvest comes with a mission. In this new flow, generosity will become your language. The same way a river doesn't hoard its water, your blessings will find their way outward. You'll notice that as you pour, more keeps coming. That's the paradox of divine abundance. The more you release, the more you receive. God multiplies what He can trust to move through you, not stop with you. Some of the increase will come through unexpected channels. Ideas that once seemed small will suddenly flourish. Relationships that looked ordinary will reveal hidden value. Even the failures you once regretted will begin to yield insight and opportunity. Nothing in your story was wasted. Every moment has been redeemed for fruitfulness. Yet even in abundance, humility remains your anchor. Prosperity without purpose leads to pride, but prosperity with purpose produces peace. You'll find yourself saying, "It was never me, it was always God." That awareness will protect you from the temptation of self-credit. The same hands that give can also guide, and you will need His guidance to steward what's coming. As you step into multiplication, be patient with the process. Not all fruit ripens at once. Some blessings will unfold slowly, so that your gratitude can grow with them. Don't rush to measure your success by visible results. Remember that even trees in full bloom continue to deepen their roots unseen. Growth is both upward and downward, visible and spiritual. In time, your life will tell the story of divine restoration. Where there was lack, there will be overflow. Where there was sorrow, there will be singing. You will look back at barren seasons and realize that they were the soil where faith took root. The wait was not punishment, it was preparation. And as abundance settles over you, let contentment be your posture. Multiplication is not about collecting more, it's about becoming more. You are not the same person who once pleaded for survival. You are the one entrusted with stewardship. Heaven didn't just restore what you lost, it multiplied who you are. This is the beauty of divine arithmetic. God subtracts what harms, divides what burdens, adds what strengthens, and multiplies what blesses. And now, you stand in the middle of that equation, surrounded by evidence that every sacrifice had purpose, every seed had promise, and every season had meaning. Peace has finally found its home within you. It did not arrive as a sudden wave or a grand announcement. It came quietly, like dawn creeping over the edges of night. This peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of understanding. It's the stillness that comes when your soul finally trusts the one steering the storm. You have walked through chaos and confusion, through loss and delay, through noise so loud it threatened to drown your faith. Yet, here you stand, calm where you once panicked, patient where you once pushed, gentle where you once clenched your fists. This is the reward of surrender. You did not gain peace by conquering life. You found it by releasing control. There was a time when every unanswered prayer made you question your worth. Every disappointment made you doubt your direction. But now, even in uncertainty, you rest. You have learned that peace is not found in knowing what comes next, but in knowing who goes with you. That awareness has become your anchor, holding you steady through shifting tides. The book of John, chapter 16, verse 33, records the words of Jesus himself. I have told you these things, so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Now, that truth now breathes through you. You no longer chase calm in temporary places, you carry it within you. It has become your spiritual atmosphere, the quiet strength that steadies your steps, even when the ground feels uncertain. Peace has changed the way you see the world. Once, you prayed for situations to calm down. Now, you ask for your spirit to remain calm within them. You've realized that storms will come and go, but the heart that knows peace can sail through any weather. This peace is not fragile, it's forged. It was shaped in the fire of waiting, molded in the silence of surrender, refined in the furnace of faith. It has texture now, a depth that can't be shaken by minor waves or fleeting fears. When others around you lose balance, you will find yourself whispering, I've been through worse, and I'm still standing. You've become a carrier of tranquility in a restless world. People will sense it before you speak. Your presence will calm rooms that chaos once ruled. Your words will carry weight, not because they're loud, but because they come from a heart no longer at war with itself. Peace has also changed how you fight. You don't rush into battles that don't belong to you. You don't argue to prove you're right. You've learned that silence can be stronger than shouting, that walking away can be an act of victory, and that forgiveness is a weapon disguised as mercy. This peace doesn't make you passive, it makes you powerful. You no longer react from fear, you respond from wisdom. You no longer carry resentment, you release it before it poisons your joy. You live lighter now because you've discovered that peace is not protection from life, it's preparation for it. In this stillness, God's voice becomes clearer. You recognize His whispers in the hum of ordinary days, in the pause between heartbeats, in the warmth of morning light, in the laughter shared with those you love. You realize that divine communication isn't always thunderous. Often, it's the quiet assurance that you are exactly where you need to be. Your heart no longer races toward what's next. It beats in rhythm with grace. The pressure to prove yourself has dissolved. You've learned that peace is found in presence, in being fully here, not constantly reaching for what's ahead. This peace will become your armor. It will guard your heart when chaos rises, and it will keep your mind anchored when doubt whispers. It will protect you from reacting to every storm and guide you to respond from stillness. This is the maturity of peace, to carry serenity in seasons where others carry stress. When you rest in this kind of peace, you begin to live differently. You walk slower, speak softer, love deeper. You find beauty in simplicity again. You recognize blessings that were always there but hidden behind worry. And you start to understand that peace was never something to chase, it was something to allow. So, breathe deeply. This is what wholeness feels like. You are no longer fighting to survive, you are living to serve, to love, to breathe freely in the rhythm of grace. The battle has ended. The storm has passed. And what remains is not just silence but sacred stillness. You carry something now that cannot be taken from you. It is more than a gift. It is a signature, a seal of divine ownership. Every step you take, every word you speak, every place you touch bears the quiet trace of heaven's handwriting. You have become marked by presence. That is what it means to belong fully to God, to move through the world, carrying His breath, His rhythm, His reflection. When you enter a space, the atmosphere shifts. It is not because of personality or position, but because of what rests upon you. The oil of God flows subtly, like fragrance, unseen but undeniable. Even those who cannot name it will sense it. You've become what Scripture calls a living letter, not written with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God. Visible, not on paper, but in how you live, forgive, and love. You may not realize it, but your presence is already preaching. The calm you carry tells stories of storms you survived. The compassion in your eyes reminds others that redemption is real. You are no longer trying to represent God, you are revealing Him. That's what happens when a soul surrenders completely. Heaven begins to show itself through humanity. This mark is not just a symbol of belonging, it's a mantle of responsibility. You don't need to announce your faith. It flows through how you treat people, how you handle pressure, how you choose kindness even when no one watches. You've become the sermon the world didn't know it needed to hear. The ancient words in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 10, affirm this beautifully. For we are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. You are that masterpiece now, walking proof that grace transforms what it touches. The brushstrokes of heaven have turned your scars into art. Every healed wound has become a color in the painting of your purpose. And as this truth settles into your heart, you begin to sense a gentle invitation, not a command, not a duty, but an invitation to keep the flow of light alive. If this word has stirred peace in you, let your heart express it. Tap like as if placing a candle at the edge of night. One small flame adding to 1,000 others already burning across the world. Share this message only if your spirit whispers, yes. Think of it as passing a warm ember to another traveler still walking through their storm. You're not promoting a post, you're offering shelter. A spark of hope that may reignite someone's faith when they feel unseen. Write a comment below, not out of habit, but as reflection. Each word you write is like carving gratitude into the walls of your own heart. When you put truth into words, it stays with you longer, it roots deeper. Subscribe, not as an act of following, but as returning to a well that quenches your soul. Imagine this space as a garden where faith grows quietly. Every time you return, you water the seeds planted within you. Staying connected is less about algorithms and more about alignment, about remaining close to the voice that reminds you who you are. And if your heart feels moved to give, let generosity be your echo of gratitude. Picture it as releasing a bird from your hands, letting it carry your thanks into skies you may never see. Your offering becomes a song, soft, invisible, but heard clearly in heaven. It keeps this light moving, reaching others still lost in shadow. But if giving is not what your heart can do today, don't feel lesser. Your listening, your time, your reflection, they are already offerings. Every act of presence is part of the tapestry God is weaving here. The beauty of this invitation is that it's free of pressure. Love never demands it, simply invites. If you choose to respond, let it be because your heart overflows, not because you feel obligated. True giving of time, words, or resources is never forced. It's a dance between gratitude and grace. Remember, what rests upon you is holy. Guard it tenderly. Carry it boldly. The signature of God on your life isn't meant to fade. It's meant to spread. Wherever you walk, may others feel the warmth that first touched you here. So let your actions, your small clicks, your quiet prayers, your unseen kindness become brushstrokes in heaven's mural of hope. Together, we become light that moves, love that multiplies, faith that flows. That is the beauty of being marked by God. Everything you touch becomes a little more alive. There is a quiet stirring in your spirit, a whisper that tells you this is not the end, but the beginning of your next assignment. Heaven never calls without purpose. And when one season closes, another one unfolds like dawn, following the longest night. You are no longer standing in recovery. You are standing in readiness. Everything you have walked through has shaped you for what comes next. The call will not arrive with thunder. It comes softly, often disguised as compassion, opportunity, or conviction. It will appear in the form of a person who needs comfort, a door that suddenly opens, or a nudge in your heart that says, "Go there, speak that, help them." These small promptings are the echoes of heaven. They are how God writes the next chapter through your obedience. Your next assignment will not look like your last. The tests you faced refined your focus. The silence taught you patience, and the battles strengthened your discernment. Now, the Spirit can trust you with greater responsibility because you have proven that you will not move without guidance. You no longer chase every open door. You listen for the one that carries peace. The Word of God reminds us in the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, verse 8, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send? "And who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I. Send me." That same question reverberates in your heart now. It is not a demand, it is an invitation. God does not force his chosen, he calls them by name. Softly, but unmistakably, when you answer, "Here am I," heaven responds by aligning every detail you will need for the journey ahead. Provision always follows obedience. Do not fear the size of your calling. Great assignments rarely feel comfortable. They stretch the spirit just enough to remind you that you are human and divine at once. You will feel both excitement and trembling. But that tension is holy. It means you're walking the fine line between what you can do and what only God can accomplish through you. You may wonder how you will know it's time to move. The answer is peace. The same peace that filled your heart in the silence will lead you forward in motion. Peace will become your compass. If the path demands that you abandon integrity, it's not yours. If it drains your spirit instead of filling it, it's not from God. True assignments might challenge you, but they never corrupt you. As this next mission begins, you will notice divine orchestration in everything. People will appear at the right moments. Resources will come without explanation. You won't need to force anything. Heaven will synchronize timing like a conductor leading a symphony. All you need to do is keep listening for the rhythm. And while the assignment may be new, the foundation remains the same: love. That is the constant thread in every divine calling. Whether you speak, build, create, or heal, it will all return to one truth. Love is the evidence of God's presence. The task may change, but the heart of it never will. This new mission might carry weight, but you are not stepping into it empty-handed. You bring with you the lessons of fire, the patience of waiting, the peace of surrender, and the compassion of one who has been healed. You are equipped not just with knowledge, but with empathy. That is what will make your impact lasting. Remember, the assignment is not about doing more, it's about becoming more present, more attentive, more surrendered. Heaven is not asking you to perform, only to partner. The miracles that follow obedience are not the result of effort, but of alignment. You will walk into new places, speak to unfamiliar faces, and feel the pulse of purpose beneath your steps. Some days will be bright, others may test your endurance again. But this time, you will not break, you will build. You will not question whether God is with you. You will know He walks beside you. And when the weight of the calling feels heavy, pause and remember that the same hands that placed the mantle upon you will hold you steady beneath it. You are not being sent alone. You are being sent accompanied. Heaven goes where you go. So walk boldly, not because you are fearless, but because you are faithful. You have been chosen, prepared, and trusted. What comes next is not random, it is written. The ink of your purpose has already dried on heaven's pages. Now, you simply live the story aloud. Glory is returning, not the fleeting glory of applause or recognition, but the steady, luminous presence of God resting upon a life fully yielded. This is not the blaze of human success, it is the glow of divine intimacy. You have become the dwelling place where heaven and earth meet. Every moment you endured, every lesson you absorbed, has built an altar inside you. And now the fire of His presence rests upon it. You will begin to sense that presence in simple things, the warmth in your chest when you pray, the tears that fall without warning when worship rises, the sudden awareness that you are not just seen by God, but carried by Him. This is the return of glory. It is quiet, but undeniable, weighty, but gentle. It no longer hovers around you. It lives within you. Once, you chased signs of God's nearness. You waited for miracles, feelings, confirmations. Now, you realize that His glory was never gone. It was waiting for you to slow down enough to notice. The same God who walked with Moses through the wilderness now walks with you through your daily life. The extraordinary has become ordinary because heaven has made your heart its home. The Word of God declares in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 14, "For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea." You are part of that fulfillment. The knowledge of His glory flows through you, not as doctrine, but as demonstration. You are living proof that what was broken can be beautiful again, that faith still moves mountains, that grace still finds its way into human hearts. This glory will not make you proud, it will make you humble. True glory bends the knees before it lifts the hands. It reminds you that everything good in you began in Him. The stronger the light, the softer the heart becomes. You will find yourself weeping more easily, forgiving more quickly, and loving more deeply. That is the evidence of transformation, the human spirit learning to move at the pace of heaven. The return of glory also brings restoration. What was stripped from you in the battle will be returned, but refined. Joy will come back lighter. Peace will come back deeper. Hope will come back steadier. You will no longer measure blessing by what you have, but by how present you are to what God is doing. Glory teaches contentment. It shows you that having Him is enough. This is also the season when purpose and presence merge. You will no longer separate your sacred life from your ordinary one. The workplace becomes your mission field. Your home becomes your sanctuary. Your conversations become your ministry. You won't need to announce that you carry glory. It will announce itself in how people feel after being near you. They will leave lighter, calmer, and somehow closer to peace. And when opposition rises again, and it will, this glory will be your defense. You will not fight as before. You will stand. The light within you will do the speaking. Darkness cannot argue with illumination. The peace of God will silence what words cannot. There will be moments when you stand alone and still feel surrounded, because you will be. Angels accompany those who carry divine presence. Their protection is unseen, but sure. You will walk through challenges that once terrified you and wonder why you're no longer afraid. It's because glory has matured you. You've learned that presence is the safest place on earth. In the days ahead, your awareness of this presence will deepen. The more you yield, the more you'll realize that your life itself has become a sanctuary. The noise of the world will fade beneath the steady hum of grace. You will no longer strive to make things happen. You will flow. That is the rhythm of glory, effortless, peaceful, purposeful. And this is how your story now stands. The test is behind you, the trial complete, the presence restored. You have not just survived, you have been sanctified. Heaven and earth recognize your name. God's glory rests where endurance once lived, and it will not depart. This is what it means to pass the test, not to be untouched by pain, but to emerge carrying presence, not to avoid the fire, but to become light because of it. The journey was never about reaching perfection, it was about learning communion. And now, wherever you go, the glory goes too. You are a walking testimony, a living sanctuary, a reflection of what happens when a heart refuses to quit. The story is not ending, it is expanding. The glory that found you will flow through you, covering the earth, one act of love at a time. If these words have reached the deep place inside you, let them rest there for a moment. Let the peace, the fire, and the stillness breathe together in your chest. You've walked through every chapter, testing, refining, silence, breakthrough, and now you stand at the edge of fulfillment. This is where reflection becomes offering. Tap like, not as a gesture of approval, but as a gentle touch of gratitude, a leaf drifting downstream in the river of light that carried you here. Every small action born of thankfulness becomes part of the current that reaches others who still wait for hope. Share this message as though you were releasing a lantern into the night sky, trusting that its glow will find someone wandering in the dark. You're not spreading content, you're sending comfort, a reminder that they too are seen, chosen, and capable of rising again. Write a comment if your heart feels moved. Let your words become stones laid along the path, marking the place where you met peace. Each thought written is like a prayer whispered into the air. It lingers longer than you think. Subscribe not for routine, but for rhythm. Imagine this space as a quiet shoreline where waves of truth return again and again. Each visit becomes a reminder that you're part of something vast yet deeply personal, a gathering of souls learning to listen, heal, and walk together. And if your spirit feels led, give as you would plant a tree, not for recognition, but for roots. Your offering becomes shade for others, fruit for the weary, shelter for hearts still searching. It's not payment, it's partnership, a shared act of keeping the flame alive. May these words stay with you like a soft echo, guiding you back whenever life grows loud. The journey continues. But for now, rest. You have walked faithfully. You have passed the test. You are not alone, and you never will be.